Jimmy Kimmel is off the air with no word on when he might return. It follows his on-air comments related to the killing of Charlie Kirk.
Freedom of speech is under attack.
And when you ask simple questions, you're instantly labeled a conspiracy theorist.
Blatant censorship.
The podcaster Candace Owens, at one time a friend of Charlie's, at one time an employee of Turning Point. She has been one of the main peddlers of these conspiracies. What do you want to say to her and the other people that are putting these lies out into the world? Stop. That's it.
I'm already the media's public enemy number one, but now I feel ready to fully embrace that.
Charlie said, keep asking questions because it's the only thing that keeps us free. And now they've completely flipped his message. Stop.
For people that talked about how Hollywood isn't relatable and Hollywood is out of touch, this looks a lot like Hollywood to most people.
I forgive him.
The problem is that we're noticing it, and the enemy, therefore, is speech.
Who fucking killed Charlie Kirk for real?
They've been changing information.
Troll the trolls.
Was Charlie offered $150 million?
Follow the money.
He didn't say that.
You guys are behaving like you're guilty and like you can spend it away to hide that.
They're like, why are you telling people not to give us money? She's also saying you killed the guy. Why are you mad about the money?
A lot of Americans are asking the same questions about the official narrative that we've been fed for months about what really happened that day at Utah Valley University in September.
I can't fathom how there are people out there right now trying to convince you that there is overwhelming evidence that Tyler Robinson committed this crime.
You have to swallow so much stuff to believe the story that the establishment is pushing for Charlie Kirk's assassination.
The narrative is that this is his grandfather's rifle from World War I. Okay.
He finds the open stairwell. It's open. He brings the gun up, but it's too big, so he has to take it apart and put it in his backpack. Still too big for his backpack, so he has to put it down his pant leg. But then if he did, he couldn't go up the steps because he couldn't bend his knees. So he slides it up, takes the shot, hits it. Perfect.
They said that he took it apart.
Runs across campus with the gun apparently under towel. Nobody sees this.
And then somehow or another reconnects it once he gets off the roof.
He runs into the woods, puts the gun back together again without the screwdriver. He's a regular MacGyver, this guy.
So when he's first spotted on campus, he has different clothing on, and then he changes clothing on the roof, and then changed back into that clothing at some point so that when he was apprehended, when he was arrested, the clothing matched the clothing he had on before the shooting here at UV.
What?
A full metal jacket, 30-06 round, would have gone right through Charlie.
I don't think this is going to help to stop the conspiracy theories.
This is the inmate booking sheet and probable cause statement from Utah County Sheriff's Office. The arrest date was 9/11, and this is 6:25 p.m. I'm just going to read you your rights. And then I'm to believe while he's declining to answer any questions, an hour and a half later, he gets on Discord and says, oh, I did it, guys, I did it. It was just me. End of case.
None of it makes sense.
What the public doesn't understand is why it seems as though Turning Point USA executives are not even remotely interested in challenging that official narrative.
I forgive him.
There's nothing to hide. I know there's not, because I've seen what the case is built on.
Is about we the people versus the ruling class. This movement is about America versus the globalists. This movement is about all of us against them.
From the moment that he began Turning Point USA, he knew he was going to die. He writes, since the beginning of Turning Point USA, I knew in my gut that I might get wiped out at any time. Since the beginning of Turning Point USA, we should probably therefore go back to the founding story.
Bill Montgomery, you guys know Turning Point? This guy is the co-founder when he was 18 years old.
The story the public knows is that Charlie was this teenager. He's speaking at a conference where a man, Bill Montgomery, happened to be in attendance. When Charlie speaks, he's absolutely floored.
I was so impressed. I said, Charlie Kirk, you don't know me. You've got to start an organization to reach out to young people in this country.
What's your corporation, right? It's a nonprofit called Turning Point USA.
What is your ideal situation?
Freedom.
Now, Bill Montgomery was Air Force. He was in the Air Force Reserves. The military was keeping its eye on gate children. Charlie was indeed a gifted child who went to a literal children's school for the gifted. Since he was young, they had him marked and had him monitored and likely followed. They thought that if they swarmed him and they stayed with him and they pretended to be his friend, that ultimately they could control Charlie. For the first time in his life, Charlie peeks his head up and starts to push back.
He said, Joe, stop us from getting into a war with Iran.
What do you mean the politicians in the West will fall if they don't agree to back Israel's war against Iran?
The people that are attacking me are in a hyper-paranoid state because they're at war, and war tends to make things black and white.
Charlie had started to have an awakening. He realized that Israel was not in our best interest.
I think some questions need to be asked. Is the media totally presenting the truth when it comes to Israel? Just a question. Was there a stand-down order? It's not defensible to be dumb.
Jewish donors, they have a lot of explaining to do.
Epstein, with his little friend Ghislaine and Ghislaine's father, Robert Maxwell, obviously a spy of the Israeli intelligence agencies, get as much blackmail on powerful people as possible. Park a couple $100 million and get one of the members of the royal family with a 13-year-old so we can get them to do what we want to do. Time for you guys to wake up. Fix it.
I mean, this is just starting to happen within a year, where Charlie's going like, hey, man, I don't actually think this. I don't actually believe this.
It's a Zionist organization. He had realized that. He had realized what Zionism was. He realized that Israel, they're not our greatest ally, so that's why they had to kill him.
The night before, he had a strong sense he was going to die. Strong enough that he texted who he thought were the security people meant to protect him, Andrew Colbert, Dan Flood. And he said, they are going to kill me. They want us to believe that he meant a trans person.
Internet rumors that somehow Israel is behind the Charlie Kirk murder.
Charlie was murdered on September 10th. 2 days later, on September 12th.
You know, they have no limits. When you hate Jews, and by the way, they're willing to kill us all the time. I mean, that's what they're doing. And you know, over the centuries, the worst things were said about Jews, and people believed it. And every time they believed it, this was a prelude to a greater and greater massacre, culminating with the worst massacre of them all, the Holocaust.
Very odd. 6 days later, on September 18th, the Israeli Foreign Ministry of Affairs, via Havas Media, decided to contract Show Faith by Works, the company that's going to geofence your phone on behalf of Israel, and they're going to give you anti-Palestinian messages. We are talking about a lot of churches that are going to be put under this syndicate. On that same date, September 18th, Havas Media contracted Clock Tower X LLC to combat anti-Semitism in the United States through the media. On their Farah docs, they list Salem Network as the platform targeting Gen Z audiences across TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, podcasts to inject Israel propagandist narrative into. Again, this is a company which was properly registered under Farah. Israel doesn't typically do this. Presidents who asked Israel agents to do this ended up dead. I'm referring to JFK. Fighting at the very end, he wanted what is today AIPAC to register as foreign agents. They did not want to register as foreign agents. And then they got really lucky because JFK ended up dead. But that's not all that happened on the 18th.
Well, somebody has fabricated a monstrous big lie that Israel had something to do with Charlie Kirk's horrific murder.
It's not a good sign if somebody even has to ask if you did have anything to do with the assassination.
I was shocked and sickened by the ghoulish and really repulsive reaction of the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, to Charlie's death. I don't think I've ever seen anything lower than his attempt to hijack Charlie's memory and use it for his own political ends.
This is insane. Charlie loved Israel. He loved the Jewish people. He told me so in a letter that he sent me just a few months ago. One of my greatest joys as a Christian, he said, is advocating for Israel and forming alliances with Jews to protect Judeo-Christian civilization. He encouraged me to make the case directly to the American people about how vital Israel is to U.S. national security.
Charlie felt that Bibi Netanyahu was a very destructive force. He was appalled by what was happening in Gaza. He was, above all, resentful that he believed Netanyahu was using the United States to prosecute his wars for the benefit of his country.
2 days before Charlie Kirk was assassinated, Charlie writes in this group chat, just lost another huge Jewish donor, $2 million a year because we won't cancel Tucker.
They're demanding that Charlie Kirk take me off the roster, pull me off stage, because I had said things that Bibi didn't like.
So I noticed everyone's been talking about Epstein tonight, and I want to kind of differ from the crowd a little. The fact that the U.S. government, the one that I voted for, refused to take my question seriously and instead said, case closed, shut up, conspiracy theorist, was too much for me. By the way, it's extremely obvious to anyone who watches that this guy had direct connections to a foreign government. Now, no one's allowed to say that that foreign government is Israel because we have been somehow cowed into thinking that that's naughty.
2 days before he died, he lost a $2 million donation because he had publicly pledged to bring me to the next Turning Point conference. He was dependent to a great extent on his donors, of course. It's a nonprofit. The ones who were offended by my speech, and there was a small, very intense group who were, tormented Charlie Kirk until the day he died.
My moral character is now being put into question, not my decisions. Not like, hey, are you doing this? Is it smart or is it dumb? But no, I am a bad person if I do this. On some part of the population, you can scold them into silence, right? But if I have any deviation of a purity test, any deviation whatsoever, such as having Tucker at my event, all of a sudden, oh, Charlie is no longer with us and all that. I said, wait a second, what do you mean? What does with us mean exactly, right? I'm an American. The more you attack our moral character, the more we're going to double down because 100%. Screw you, I don't do it that way, okay?
Charlie writes, Jewish donors play into all of the stereotypes. I cannot and will not be bullied like this, leaving me no choice but to leave the pro-Israel cause.
You know how many mass shooters there have been in America over the last 10 years?
Counting or not counting gang violence?
Great.
We are getting new reporting in right now from the president. The great, even legendary Charlie Kirk is dead.
In 33 hours, we have made historic progress.
Feds injected themselves immediately into this case because they were staging a cover-up.
We've been told that this individual, Robinson, is a lone gunman, and maybe he is. But the investigation that I was a part of, the National Counterterrorism Center was a part of, we were stopped from continuing to investigate.
They had the gun-sniffing dogs, right? Which they could sniff a gun that was fired a week earlier in the rain. They were looking all over it. They didn't find it. The FBI shows up. A minute later, we got the gun.
I have nothing to hide. We're fully transparent.
If she truly wanted more transparency, she could provide it. The first people that had access to exactly what happened in 4K was Turning Point USA. 4 minutes after Charlie's bloodied body was carried to the SUV, Terrell Farnsworth raced down to the crime scene, grabs the very chair that Charlie was murdered in, stands on that bloody chair, and removes, specifically, the SD card.
Well, first of all, they're in the possession of the FBI, okay? It's not like he took them and ran off with them.
Mr. Farnsworth originally provided, I believe, a flash drive to Lieutenant O'Brien with one of the local agencies. He provided downloadable versions, electronic versions.
You watched the video where you saw an individual up on the roof. Do you mention anywhere in this report that you saw a gun?
No.
Were you able to identify the individual's face?
No.
Their height?
No.
Were you able to identify any markings on their clothing?
No.
And that individual was in the vicinity where you saw the disturbance in the gravel?
Yes.
Officer Chris Bagley, a Utah Valley University officer on the day of the shooting. Now that in and of itself is interesting because the reason the Turning Point security team was not patrolling the roof is because they were told by the local cops that they were on it. This guy was the local.
I noticed that there was an object which was sitting right about 10 or 15 feet in from the other side of the guardrail in the gravel. It was a red and black screwdriver.
Your body cam footage that I reviewed appears to end while you're still on the roof. Do you know why that is?
I think the battery went dead. It was just right at that moment.
There was evidence, DNA evidence that could be collected and had been collected, including a screwdriver.
Looking at the Tyler Robinson indictment, and we're going to find out that there's nothing about a screwdriver or DNA on a screwdriver.
Here is the radio scanner from that encounter. You would think that would be the first thing he would talk about.
On top of the Losey building, I do have kind of a imprint, which would be a great angle. Just in 14, I'm up on top of the Losey.
I'll go ahead and spoil the surprise. There was no screwdriver discussed on the dispatch.
So in the first part of that video, what do you see?
The vehicle we believe to be driven by Mr. Robinson pulling up and parking in front of across the street, but in front of the residence.
And do you remember that the Nobles told you that the driver of the vehicle was bald?
I do remember that being in the report, yes.
And you didn't mention that today when you were talking about that Ring camera, did you?
I did not.
And did they also tell you there were 3 other people in the car?
Yes, I believe they thought that was the case.
Do you believe you recognize who that person is?
I believe that's Tyler Robinson. He heads out of the parking garage on foot into the campus and actually goes to the quad area of the campus. At that time, he makes contact with some representatives from TPUSA. He makes contact with some representatives from TPUSA.
We heard that there was a mountain of evidence. I thought we were going to get a mountain.
Is there any footage of the alleged shooting?
There is not, Judge.
Okay, I just want to clarify that.
There are too many things that the feds can easily do to dissuade us, and they're not doing any of it.
The university is already making some changes. They're replacing the grass where Charlie Kirk was speaking with pavers.
Guy that was hired to pave over Charlie Kirk's murder scene. They told him the governor and the FBI said they want this done by Monday.
Why? And they never want to tell you.
Yeah, or shouldn't why am I the one even asking about it?
Exactly.
Dude, I'm just a curious fucktard, dude. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying my best, but fuck, dude.
Evil is a commitment to deception and violence, period.
But overall, it does feel like this is like a video game of good versus evil, and you have to start to see that, like, you're a player in it.
About Charlie Kirk, did you ever talk about Charlie Kirk?
I personally had never heard him talk about Charlie Kirk before specifically.
Political issues. So did you ever talk about gender identity issues and LGBTQ rights?
No, not really.
For everybody on the outside looking into this, AmFest is when we realized that something very disturbing is happening in America.
Welcome to AmFest.
And you can see from behind me, this is a recreation of the tent where Charlie Kirk lost his life in September, and people are taking selfies with it.
The feds deemed it appropriate to give his handheld microphone to Turning Point USA so that they could put it in a glass encasement and raise money off of it.
And Erica Kirk, God bless, tragic, and I'm sorry for what happened, but nobody knows why she's out there in a glittering pantsuit in a recreated tent that her husband tragically was murdered in, throwing merch out. She's out there talking to Nicki Minaj. People are confused.
Our modern world and culture, we are all starting to realize, was created by powerful people like Jeffrey Epstein. And yet, the media just wants us to move on and keep going.
It is the denial of that culture that has produced this culture. Listen up, I'll say it again. It is the denial of truth that has manufactured this culture of slop.
We're doing our part. We're going to continue to do our part to make sure that the truth is always heard. We'll amplify it even more.
Maybe Turning Point USA is not striving for relatability, and that's fine. Money can, in fact, be your motive. But for me, there's something more important that's happening here.
Was Charlie offered $150 million from Israel?
As far as I know, no.
I had never heard anything like that.
Bibi Netanyahu called. My source on that, which I had never previously revealed to the public, it was Andrew Colbett who told me that Bibi Netanyahu offered to take Turning Point to the next level, and that Charlie Kirk said no.
At the point that he said that he was going to leave the pro-Israel cause came after there was this pressure session meeting in the Hamptons at Bill Ackman's mansion when Benjamin Netanyahu phoned in offering $150 million for Charlie Kirk to remain firmly in the Zionists' grip.
He turns down their money.
He became a direct threat to the government that was preparing to take America to war with Iran, to the continued cash flow for the war profiteers like his own mother-in-law, Lori Franzfey, the Fort Huachuca defense contractor.
Fort Huachuca is actually an intelligence base. It is a hub for intelligence training. The panic button was pressed when we mentioned Fort Huachuca in the alleged meeting that happened on the morning of September 9th. Like, this is a final meeting before an operation. I was contacted by Mitch Snow. He saw 2 people at Fort Huachuca in the days leading up to Charlie Kirk's assassination, Brian Harpole and Erica Kirk.
There's a picture of Erica Kirk with a ponytail. That person matches who I saw at Fort Huachuca in the lobby the night before. And she was with that man in the lobby. And that man, he was present at that meeting.
After we allowed Mitch onto the show to share his story, it was just madness.
If you have these things that are being said, you need to counter it with the truth. And if you don't, there's a void and a vacuum. They get louder and louder.
We just can't seem to get any alibis. We got some kids that Andrew Kovach said were Erica's and then said, okay, no, they're not Erica's. It's been a disaster.
Earlier, I wasn't supposed to share that. Sorry, Andrew, I screwed that up. But it's proof Erica wasn't in some Ford in Tucson.
They are struggling to come up with a way to explain a way to invert reality.
She carries light behind her eyes, even when the dark.
Next thing we know, shots fired, and then there's another video of Erica that comes out, and it's going viral.
I just want to go find.
Then we start getting screamed at on the internet. This is what happens. The propaganda and lies are spread online by people like Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson. All the endless conspiracy theorizing and attacks on Erica Kirk by Candace Owens led to this. And making matters more confusing, the Department of War were orchestrating to artificially boost her I want to go home video. They wanted her as the #1 trend by morning. That was a focus of the Department of War. Why?
Everyone is asking why I even went to the White House Correspondents' Dinner. And it was because many of the journalists in that room have attempted to dehumanize me. And I wanted to meet some of them face to face, quite frankly.
They treat us like we are toddlers. They want us to make believe. Erica last minute no-showed an event featuring the Vice President of the United States.
I'm going to address it right at the front. Mr. Vice President, I'm on stage here instead of our friend Erica Kirk. That's right. Because unfortunately, she has received some very serious threats in her direction, which is terrible. It's a terrible reflection on the state of reality and the state of the country. But it underscores a larger point that she has received a lot of attacks from surprising places, perhaps.
I distinctly remember when they were sort of gaslighting us the other way.
Do you feel safe?
I do. What are they going to threaten me with? Going to heaven sooner to be with my husband? And I don't say that to be reckless. I do not.
Erica is not who she is pretending to be. That much is obvious.
The cries of this widow will echo around the world like a battle cry. To everyone listening tonight across America, the movement my husband built will not die. It won't. I refuse to let that happen. If you want to get involved, go to tpusa.com.
This human wanted power and she seized it. She didn't even wait a week before she was in that office.
Hi, everybody. I still love all these emoji Zoom things. Wow. The fact that we were able to pull off an event of a century, like it's just insane. My husband's dead. Like, I'm not trying to be morbid, but he's dead. And again, it's not easy, but again, grief is hard. Otherwise, honestly, Turning Point USA and Turning Point Action, full steam ahead, you guys. We have so much to do, which is exciting. Charlie would want us to get back to work, and that's what we're doing. I mean, since his assassination, we have 100,000 chapter requests. We have 300,000 new donors. We are moving forward Turning Point USA 2.0 with Charlie in our hearts, and that's what he would want.
I want to live in a country where she could stay at home and raise those kids. Deliver the income so that your wife can be a mother to the kids. Stay-at-home moms are heroes, and we need more stay-at-home moms in this country, not less.
New at noon, we're learning Erica Kirk has been named the CEO of Turning Point USA.
She will effectively take over the organization that her husband, Charlie Kirk, founded.
His passion was my passion, and now his mission is my mission.
I appoint my wife to run Turning Point USA if something happens to me. Erica would do a great job.
Whatever. He said it one time in front of a camera at a private event with donors in Aspen. It's something he told all of us. We all knew.
They are still refusing to answer a very important question. The video that they presented, is it doctored, yes or no?
Troll the trolls, stuff it in their face, and then watch them predictably melt down when the evidence was shown.
He did not elect Erica Kirk to take his spot legally in any documents. This is a video that exists. I'll share the entire thing.
Unfortunately, I did not see my life being like this. I didn't. So when people are like, oh, she's now this role, I'm honoring what the Lord has put in front of me, and I'm also honoring my husband's request. And now I have to be the sole provider for my children.
It's not what she wanted. It's the hand that she was dealt. She calls herself the sole provider. She is just like you, only worse off because she's a single mom trying to survive for the sake of her kids with a private jet and drivers. She's not being clear here that Charlie had a life insurance policy, both at home, at work, $10 million from his work policy. Millions raised by complete strangers online. Also people who just knew her, like Tucker Carlson. He alone raised $5.4 million for her. Despite the fact that Turning Point USA is a charity that pulled in over $250 million last year, the public simply wanting to ensure the person who is running that organization is, at a bare minimum, moderately honest. No, that inquiry makes you a monster.
Erica is no stranger to the spotlight. She is a former Miss Arizona competing in the Miss USA pageant in 2012.
Erica 23, Arizona.
I think people are very curious about you. I think they want to know more about you.
Hi.
Good morning, America.
We just have a borderless heart to help people and to give back. And, I have been to Romania and teamed up with the Marine Corps to open up and sustain an orphanage with 75 beautiful children called Romanian Angels.
Tell me about your experiences in fashion.
I did not go to fashion school, but I am self-taught.
This is who Erica was at this time. She was auditioning for everything.
And that you were a businesswoman in New York when you first got interested in Turning Point. So what were you doing in New York?
I was here for 5 years. I never dated here.
She also appeared on a dating show, season 3 of Bravo TV's Summer House.
America. She's beautiful, and she happens to be religious.
I think you're a bright light in a very dark place.
And eventually she's going to get the part for Charlie's wife.
I was in New York. I was a casting director. I was signed with a modeling agency. I had just gotten my real estate license 3 months prior to meeting Charlie.
Tyler Boyer, this very shady COO of Turning Point Action, is going to introduce Erica to Charlie Kirk.
You went to a job interview. Literally. So this is how good the Lord is. He knew that because I was not dating in New York City, he knew that in order for me to know that that was my man, he had to blanket Charlie as a job interview. A lot of people don't realize that before I met Charlie, I had my own company, and I still do. And it was one of those things where I built it in a way where that when I got married and had children, it could run on its own.
The business that she is referring to is a clothing company that prints Bible verses onto t-shirts. So she goes on her first official date with Charlie in September of 2018. She actually picked up the domain name to that streetwear company the month after, October 26th, 2018. This was the year she was also pursuing a Juris Master degree at Liberty University. I gotta be honest, I struggle to believe that Erica was in fact, while in New York, doing real estate deals while filming a reality TV show, also in school full-time to get her Juris Master's, followed by her law degree at Liberty, while also studying the mandatory 77 hours to achieve her real estate license, while also running an international charity in partnership with the U.S. Marines halfway around the world and in China, while also running a faith-based clothing company, doing all of that at the same time. That's a struggle for me. I can't get there. Also, this girl from Ohio, how does she get linked to Romania? Romania. What goes on in Romania? Why are so many people in this story tied to Romania? Alas, we are left to investigate matters on our own. In 2010, the United States announces we're going to put a military base out in Romania. Tyler Boyer makes his first appearance in Romania to work with the Romanian government. Tyler writes, I went to Romania to do some work with a senator in the parliament there, and he was friends with this guy that owned a modeling agency and took me to the beach that's going to be in Constanta. We're in 2011. Tyler Boyer's back. He's fresh back from his trip to Romania. He is still a student, I should mention, at Arizona State University. He is elected to serve as a student representative to the Arizona Board of Regents. Usually there are votes, but the governor appoints the new student regent. Boyer applied directly through the governor's office.
I was a young leader. I was a,
college Republican president. I'd served on the Board of Regents as a student regent.
After he's put into place, Erica Franz-Faye enrolls into Arizona State University for her final year of college. Arizona State University was the #1 university that was mentioned in Jeffrey Epstein's emails, about 3,500 times. Jeffrey Epstein began giving to Arizona State University in December of 2010. A couple of months before Tyler gets elected to the Board of Regents, just a couple of months after Tyler gets back from Romania. In August of 2012, Erica begins the Romanian Angels in partnership with the U.S. Marines. Romanian Angels were living at Antonio's Placement Center in Constanta, Romania, where our base was. Over at the Black Sea Rotational Force, helping to rebuild Romania, a Marine named Dennis Franz-Faye, Erica's cousin, wanted to go to Constanta and help set things up. Before he retired, he was actually stationed out in Afghanistan for the same exact operation that Lori Franz-Faye of E3 Tech wins an award for, Operation Enduring Freedom. 9/11 happens. 2 weeks later, we're Operation Enduring Freedom. The troops that came back all said that they were tasked with guarding poppy fields. Remember, this was before the opioid crisis hits. And the home of the opioid crisis was Tel Aviv, the Sackler family. I've always wondered how it is that Tel Aviv, which doesn't actually grow any poppy flowers, how exactly they were able to get enough of those poppy seeds to cause an entire opioid crisis. How did they do it? Right? Like, who was in control of transporting all of those flowers during a time of war? We'll never know. What we do know, however, is that it was Captain Curtis Colvett who was stationed in Afghanistan. That's Andrew Colvett's brother. They sent the military police from Nevada to head up the transportation company from Afghanistan. Curtis Colvett was the commander. That Andrew's brother was administratively responsible for directing soldiers through 100 convoy missions, transporting personnel and supplies. Everything from Afghanistan was running through Romania.
Gosh, I have all of the photos of when we were on the base too. How are the Romanian troops? Because you guys share a base with them, don't you?
We do.
Now, is that still kind of like a halfway drop-off point too for troops from Afghanistan?
It is. It is part of that operation.
According to the former child, now an adult, adopted out of Antonio's Placement Center, I was personally placed in this center under dubious circumstances involving misdiagnosis and institutional pressure before being adopted internationally. This center in particular, notorious for corruption and illicit activities such as trafficking children, which is why I was shocked that out of all of the placement centers in Romania, this was a center that she chose to partner with. That is notably a corrupt orphanage. The very reason why, when we discovered that Erica Kirk, or I should say Erica Franz-Faye, while she was living in New York City, hanging around at the Next Model Management Offices, the talent agency run by close Jeffrey Epstein friend Faith Cates, we had questions. The people who worked there alleged that Erica was the point of contact for the model department, and they find it to be suspicious because Jeffrey Epstein was often at their offices. These Eastern European women that they were bringing in for quote-unquote suits described as men involved in the business. Faith Cates knew Epstein since before she co-founded Next. She was vice president of the women's division over at Wilhelmina Models. Wilhelmina Models was co-founded by Francis Rothschild. And Jeffrey Epstein's recently released emails to Peter Thiel. As you probably know, I represent the Rothschilds. The Rothschilds credit themselves with creating the modern state of Israel. Zionism was therefore their platitude. Zionists were also the people that were squeezing Charlie Kirk at the end of his life. When Charlie and Erica went on their first date in 2018, that was the exact same time frame when the Epstein scandal initially broke out. Jeffrey Epstein's trafficking network was once deeply embedded in the pageantry and modeling world. It seems like the perfect kind of a place that Jeffrey Epstein would run women through, particularly women from Eastern Europe. Do you think it's a coincidence, Erica and Tyler, both having been involved in Romania during the very years of Jeffrey Epstein, both of them being at Arizona State University, the university that Jeffrey Epstein was pouring all of his money into, who, like Tyler, was involved particularly with modeling agencies in Romania? Do you think all of this is just one big coincidence and we are the conspiracy theorists? Or is something darker afoot? All roads lead to the front door of Turning Point USA Faith. When Charlie met Erica, she brought faith, and she stayed with faith, and she constantly involved herself in faith, and she guided him on who he should have around him. On the basis of faith, people like Victor Marx, Pastor Victor Marx and his wife Eileen Marx were one of the very first people to go see and to greet Erica in the days following Charlie's assassination. They wanted it captured and put onto the internet. That's what Erica wanted. You were first to post a video that was later on removed saying that Charlie had passed. And this video was about an hour and 20 minutes before the president's announcement. And also in terms of the people who did post early on, I believe Jack Hibbs, Amir Safari,
That's
definitely
correct.
all a part of that same sort of turning point faith orbit of pastors. And Jack Hibbs took down a video saying that actually there was an Israel channel that reported it first and had the information before anybody else.
I'm not aware of
so
that.
I was wondering if you were all perhaps sharing information, but you're saying
No.
you just did that by yourself, no information.
I knew it. I knew the only time I saw it, I knew there's no way he could have survived that. And when I made a post and said, you know, Charlie's passed, of course I know Frank Turret, I know the security teams. I put it up, and then I didn't see anybody else posting it. I thought it was premature, and I pulled it down. And then I contacted Erica through a text and told her. I just told her, nobody's going to kill you. You're safe, you and the kids. No one's coming after you. They just wanted Charlie.
He regularly tells the story about the abuse that he endured at the hands of his stepfather.
I used a knife, cut the cat's head off, and then he put the carcass on my head, and he put his finger over my trigger finger, and then he pushed, and I pulled, and I shot the guy.
His stepfather served in the army and did counterintelligence. And thereafter, he ran an international drug smuggling ring out of Jamaica. At the age of 18, Victor joined the Marine Corps during peacetime, stateside, no deployments, before he was discharged and began attending the nearby Calvary Chapel. In 2003, he and his brother began All Things Possible Ministries. Victor, like his stepdaddy, was allegedly interested in trafficking, particularly arms, and he contacted a man named Corby Hall, the founder and the sole owner of Fold AR, that specializes in producing the most compact rifles that have ever been created. Corby discussed all sorts of topics with Mr. Marks: biblical prophecy, end times, salvation, and finding an investor for the business.
This led into Victor explaining what a retooling prayer is. And I had never heard that term before. And I grew up in church.
And he's going to retool what?
Good question.
And I've dealt with thousands of demons now, thousands, easily. I've had demons speak to me through people. They're saying, I will effing kill you. I will murder you.
And Victor tells me what he really wants to do. And he wanted 51%, take control of the company and the patent. We're walking and he's saying, well, Israel needs your guns. They need 50,000 for the IDF for operations in Gaza and Lebanon and Syria. That was the moment that I was done.
Our government, in case you didn't know this, has been implicated many times over doing arms deals overseas, trafficking, global trafficking.
If they protest, if they go out in the streets, they will be immediately shot. If they don't have guns, we sent some guns, but the group that was supposed to give, which I said would happen to my people, I said it, I called it exactly. We sent guns, a lot of guns. They were supposed to go to the people so they could fight back against these thugs. You know what happened? The people that they sent them to kept them because they said, what a beautiful gun, I think I'll keep it. So I'm very upset with a certain group of people, and they're going to pay a big price for that.
Yeah, it's time for you to wake up to how the world really works. I've been telling you that something's not right, specifically with Turning Point Faith. And everyone around Erica is so committed to trafficking charitably. What a perfect cover. Erica should be able to easily explain why she chooses to partner with people for faith who are credibly accused of trafficking people from Romania.
Charlie Kirk was an outspoken Christian, and he died expressing his faith and his beliefs. Because the Christian faith is not only worth living for, it's worth dying for.
They really are just about the mission, right? They're all just really good people Who is Rob McCoy? Why is it that these Calvary chapels have a long history of abuse and trafficking scandals? Calvary Chapel of Woodlands, 2024, the lead pastor was arrested after a sting operation into online sex abuse against children. Calvary Chapel Cary, the lead pastor, resigned amid allegations of incest with his own son. Calvary Chapel in Orange County, the lead pastor convicted of abusing 2 girls. Calvary Chapel Solid Rock, there's also the former Calvary pastor in Virginia, Calvary Chapel in Fort Lauderdale. Why is Rob McCoy adjacent to some of these scandals? Thomas Michael Camino, who tried to lure girls with a lost cat story, gets maximum sentence. Despite having spent years in prison for these crimes, Rob McCoy then decides that Camino should be involved in the Calvary Chapel Church in a program called Home Fellowship, which put him inside the homes of children.
I was so compelled because of the gossip and the slander of my friend who's going to join me.
These pastors are dangerous. There might be a reasonable explanation, but I'd like to hear it because Erica Kirk now has access to American high school students via Turning Point's Club America. She's speaking at high schools across the country. And in my view, no parent in the United States or abroad should accept a Turning Point USA high school chapter in their child's school without a very clear understanding of what Erica was doing in association with Next Model Management. Being a widow does not remove you from having to answer a question of this magnitude. You know, Turning Point has a lot of money, enough money to have not just a PR person, but then to have an entire orbit of people who are being paid to push their talking points like Paramount Tactical.
All right, folks, so I got to tell you, I think that Candace Owens is really messed up this time.
Christian influencers, something's not right.
Prostitutes who have turned the podcast realm into a conspiracist, politicized version of OnlyFans, where unhinged hosts are addicted to clicks earned by tormenting a widow.
They're feeling threatened by speech.
Candace doesn't have any receipts, and you're attacking a widow on innuendo, supposition, vain speculation. But here's the thing. We ended the Salem witch trials in 1692 in America, and they had murdered 19 people. And you know why they did it? They had spectral evidence. I had a dream. Charlie spoke to me. Sound familiar? She's done.
Jesus and the apostles say that Satan is a murderer, a slanderer, an accuser, a liar, and somebody that brings confusion. People who are slandering Erica, making accusations, this is what Satan does.
This is a trend. People with power don't want to hear disagreement. They don't want to be challenged, ever. That's why we have free speech.
Tucker Carlson is the most dangerous anti-Semite in America, a leader of a modern-day Hitler Youth, to broadcast and feature those who celebrate the Nazis, those who call for the extermination of Israel, to defend Hamas, to even criticize President Trump for stopping Iran's nuclear ambitions.
It is unacceptable, frankly, that our government gives more flack to Tucker Carlson than they did to Jeffrey Epstein.
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein?
Why do we like freedom of speech? Because it's the best way that we can govern ourselves without actually having to get to physical conflict. Dialogue, which comes from the Greek word through reason, through thinking, is what makes us different in the West than almost any other country around the world. Our capacity to say, you know what, debate me. Come up and tell me why your ideas are better. But all of a sudden, if speech is disappearing, which it is in our country, then all of a sudden, you're more likely to self-segregate from a certain conversation or shut yourself up. That form of self-censorship is such an unbelievably dangerous trend that's happening in our country. And what does that result in? That results in half the country voluntarily saying that they don't even want to care about what we think.
We don't live in a country that is the embodiment of democratic principles. If Charlie Kirk gets publicly executed and the media apparatus is doing everything they can to cover the tracks by demanding that there is no further inquiry into what happened on that day.
If what you're saying is true, what is it they're covering up? You've inferred perhaps
Israeli involvement in some way. You've certainly inferred a lot of Turning Point USA involvement. That's a lot of people getting involved here in the murder of Charlie Kirk, potentially. Well, which one is it? It can't be all of these things. I mean, who do you actually believe was behind this?
Of course it can be all of those things. That is what it means. When there is a conspiracy, there are multiple people that are involved. Of course, there's not one person on a grassy knoll who shot JFK.
This is where people think you're prone to endless conspiracy theories for whatever reason. And we recently had a lot of the files released, which did not conclusively prove any of these things, right? Now, again, I don't know what happened. It might have been Lee Harvey Oswald.
And then that required national security to lock down the files, and that required the CIA to impart Operation Mockingbird.
All right,
I just think we have to grow up.
All of us are smarter to believe that it was simply Lee Harvey Oswald. Once we acknowledge that more than one person did it, then we can expose our government to have lied to us about the JFK assassination, which then I think will sober a lot of us about trusting the government in the future.
Tonight, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu gifted U.S. President Donald Trump a golden pager, an allusion to a deadly September operation carried out by Israel in Lebanon.
We spoke with two recently retired senior Mossad agents. The operation started 10 years ago with weaponizing walkie-talkies.
Just like a bullet or a missile or a mortar, inside the battery there is an explosive device.
Mossad began developing a new device that Hezbollah fighters would have in their pockets all the time.
A pager is almost obsolete around the world, but Hezbollah is still using it. When they are buying from us, they have zero clue that they are buying from the Mossad. We make like Truman Show.
Several people are dead after a major explosion at an explosives manufacturing plant in Tennessee.
Officials say the explosion happened at Accurate Energetic Systems. The plant handles military explosives with multiple buildings on site, one now destroyed.
When you run this theory that Charlie's microphone was rigged, suddenly every little oddity in this story from September 10th onward begins to make a lot more sense. Why the bomb dogs were kept away from the scene, because they would have smelled the explosive. Why the crime scene was immediately paved over and the soil was excavated.
They had taken out about 10 inches of the dirt.
Why the feds were searching for Charlie Kirk's necklace, the same reason, explosive residue.
I pulled out my bag, and draped over my bag was Charlie's necklace, and I had heard they were looking for that.
Why there appears to be shattered black plastic or glass all over the SUV which transported Charlie to the hospital. The road bike, that would make sense. Why there is no available footage or any eyewitness reports of someone seen firing a shot from the Losey building. Why the feds did not conduct a standard GSR gunshot residue test when Tyler Robinson was brought in, because they knew that he would fail it. Also, it would explain why there was unusually no ambulance on standby. Well, the paramedics would have seen the shattered road bike pieces and all of the other evidence which did not support a gunshot wound. It would also explain why Terrell Farnsworth violated the crime scene immediately to remove the SD card from that back footage, because it would have captured that the 30-06 did not go through. Also, that little selfie he recorded of himself declaring that Charlie was dead, that's not going to help the conspiracies. Lastly, it would go some way of explaining why Erica was quick to forgive Tyler Robinson before the world. It was quicker than she was able to forgive Drewski. We know that this is deep state. We know that we are looking at an assassination akin to JFK, and we know the subject matter is Israel. The truth matters deeply about what happened to Charlie Kirk.
Can we not stop for a minute, regardless of how much you hate Israel, and just kind of take a look at their perspective of the world? They're constantly getting attacked.